Hi, welcome. I'm so grateful that you are here to join us on Wisdom of the Mystics, our new show where we get to delve into the mystics of New Thought, learn who they were, who they are as people, what is their main teaching, and how we can use that teaching in our own lives. So grateful you are here to join us, to learn more, and to join us in this conversation. And so I am Reverend Kathy Mastroianni, Executive Director of the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation.
And I'm Laura Topper, and I'm just so looking forward to this broadcast today with you, Reverend Kathy. We have an extremely amazing super guest that we're bringing on to Wisdom of the Mystics, somebody that I know has so much to share and is doing so much in this world to enlighten people, to bring people to their knowing of truth. So today we are bringing on Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes, somebody that I know so beautiful, her message as a global spiritual leader and author and a true difference maker. She has been known to be like a Tibetan master for our times. Oh, I love that. And I know that what she is here to share today as we bring her onto the show to share more about somebody who has really profoundly changed the face of New Thought. And I'm not going to speak on who Reverend Temple is going to talk about. I'll let Reverend Temple share. Let's keep a little bit of mystery here with our mystics. So I'm going to bring Reverend Temple on right now, and welcome to Wisdom of the Mystics.
Hi. Thank you for having me. What an honor to be here. And welcome, Myrtle Fillmore. We're so delighted and humbled to be in your presence today as well.
Oh, thank you for welcoming her in. It's so amazing that you're here, isn't it, Reverend Kathy, that we can be doing this right now.
Oh, we're so grateful to have your wisdom and how you are bringing in Myrtle and her. Oh my gosh, transformative. I mean, it's just life-changing wisdom that she brought to unity that has, transformed millions of lives.
Yes.
And so we can all get to know Myrtle a little closer to our hearts. So we're grateful to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And the one thing I think when we were creating this and writing out our, who would come on as super guests and who we'd love to showcase as our mystics, and when Myrtle came, it was clear for me that as an ordained Science of Mind minister and also a unity minister would be this incredible. You could shine this incredible light on who Myrtle Fillmore is and what it is that she brought to this world, maybe beyond unity as a label, as a concept. So should we begin there with how do you know Myrtle as an everyday person? In her day-to-day life, how was she, do you think?
Well, I feel that, with the stories of Myrtle, what people I feel really resonate when it comes to the mystic Myrtle Fillmore is she calls within every person within their humanity to listen to your own inner guidance, to listen to your intuition, that you can go to a doctor and you'll get a diagnosis. There are facts within a diagnosis, but there are spiritual truths. And that's what we say all the time in New Thought, Unity and Science Mind. There's always facts, right? But there's the spiritual truth. And when I think about Myrtle and the times that she lived in the late 1800s, in the early 1900s, she was like a lone person in her own belief system, is because she was brought up from the get-go being told you have tuberculosis and you will not live past 40. You have tuberculosis and you will not live past 40. Well, how many of you, even those of you that are listening, have received some kind of someone speaking about you and telling you who you're going to be, who you're not going to be, and you buy into that BS, that belief system that somebody told me? So underneath the layer of New Thought within itself, we say, always listen to your own intuitive faculty. No one knows your body. No one knows your heart better than you. And I find that Myrtle, it's like I feel like in many ways I owe my life to her, which I can speak about later on. But that being said, she just wouldn't buy that. She's like, I got a husband, I have children, and I don't want to die. I don't want to die. So she went on this pursuit of knowledge, of some way to have a different paradigm that would support her in not accepting her death cause and that predictability. And so that being said, it's very interesting that she had like weeks to live, however many weeks, it could be years of weeks, but she heard a lecture. E.B. Weeks was his name. And she stood in that audience on that one particular day, that one particular time, and she sat in the space and heard him say, you are a child of God, and therefore you do not inherit disease. You are a child of God, and therefore you do not inherit disease. And she went, I don't. I am a child of God. I am whole. I am holy. And this is what's going to happen. And so she permeated that energetic presence in every cell and fiber of her being. And she started getting better and better and better, right? And then she aligned with Emma Curtis Hopkins, whom we know is the teacher of teachers, who was the Fillmore's teachers and Ernest Holmes' teacher. And Emma Curtis Hopkins said the same thing. Never is a sick person coming before me, but a whole person coming before me so that they may be recognized. And that was the power. And I think that's why we say as mystics, what our task is, what our calling is to simply be able to shift someone's old patterning and awareness to a bigger paradigm of who they are and who they're designed to be. And I know the two of you do that all the time with your teaching and your podcasts and who you are. But Myrtle in her day wasn't like she went on meetup.com. She didn't go on Instagram and TikTok and go, I'm a child of God. And I mean, can you imagine how people must have looked at her like cuckoo? Like, what are you saying? Because she was surrounded by religiosity, Methodist, Presbyterian, and you just didn't go around shouting that kind of stuff. So I honor her and I praise her. And when we talk about the courage to tell somebody you go to a New Thought Center, get over yourself. Think about somebody in the 18 and 1900s that, were considered like out there. So go Myrtle, go.
And thank you. I love that perspective, to put us back in time into the 1800s, in the early 1900s when she was really, finding her voice and creating unity. So it's powerful. Again, we didn't have Instagram and that back then. She just was able to speak her truth. And I just got shivers when you were saying that, she heard, I am a child of God. And I mean, it was that alignment, that awakening, that quickening, of her soul when she felt and expressed that.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
it's very interesting in my own life that I would stay with my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. And I tell you what, they were all about the doctor. You know, I mean, going to doctor to them was like some people would consider going to Disneyland. And we would load up every week and get in that Ford Galaxy car. And Mama and Papa, we'd go down and the doctor would say, here's what's going to happen. Here's how you're going to be. Here's how you're going to feel. So I grew up going, doctors are my last resort. You know, I am not into somebody telling me how I'm going to be and how I'm going to turn out. So much so that I would go to see my pediatrician if I had a cold or something. And here I am, you know, 15, 16, 17 years old, sitting in a lobby with babies and pregnant mothers until my pediatrician said, Temple Hayes, you got to get out of here. You're too old to be coming to me. But I just didn't want somebody telling me what was going to happen. And, you know, and a lot of you relate. I mean, my parents were saying, you're going to have allergies like your grandmother. You're going to probably have a hysterectomy like your aunt. I'm 14 years old. I don't even know how to pronounce the word. You know, still hardly don't. You're going to have all these things. And they were saying, you're going to be like this and you're going to be like that. And we call that your DNA. You're doing and never asking. You're doing and never asking, because we know in our society today, and you know it, Laura, you know it, Catherine, we can transform our DNA. It doesn't have to be our truth. It's both and. We listen. It's a measure. It's a, I need to be more well-intentioned, etc. But I can exceed that. And here's this woman getting this data everywhere she goes. Ma'am, you have tuberculosis and you're going to die. I mean, the thing about Myrtle, not only did she overcome and never succumb to tuberculosis, she doubled her life expectancy. Wow. In her times, doubled her life expectancy, which means that all of us are aiming way too low. We ought to at least aim for 150. But see, we often water down metaphysics now because, you know, we want to be popular or, you know, be on talk shows and stuff like that. But that day, our teachers like Ernest and Charles and, you know, Eric Butterworth and, you know, Raymond Charles Barker were like, get real, people. You can do magic, right? And do it, you know, and that's what Myrtle did. And even her own husband doubted her. You know, he went, I don't know, this is really out there. I mean, I'm not really sure. He was a real estate person and a real estate developer and into business. And he went, I don't know. And what happened was, even though we're talking about her today, when you're a couple, right, you know, you got to include the other one because it can go any direction based upon support and validation. But what happened to Charles is he went, well, I really want to believe in this. I really do. So what happened is he would take naps and or in his dreams, he would have dreams about properties and business transactions. And the next day or the next week, it would be a real life circumstance. And he would see how this ethereal, this esoteric essence was very, very real. And he got on board too. But really, in my opinion, my humble one, and I'm not a Unity scholar at all, I would say that Myrtle was really the founder of the Unity movement, and Charles came humbling along.
Oh, I love the way that you've said that, because that gives clarity, because it's that one of them was really inspired and she was really inspired by what had happened for her. And I'm just wondering, you know, this ties into this question of what her main teaching was. And surely this was her main teaching, is you can be healed right now. Yeah. And what was it that because she heard this just before she was 40, and then she took on board the teachings of Curtis Hopkins. How people around her must have thought, oh my gosh, she really is a magician. All those people that doubted her.
They really did. And people started lining up outside her home because they had heard that. they had heard that she was healed, and they would come to her for prayer. And that is the birthing of the prayer, the silent prayer movement that is still very prevalent and used from people all over the world today, headquartered in Unity Village, USA. So yes, it that's what birthed the silent prayer ministry. Was people would come to her and say, I have this allergy, I have leukemia, I have, whatever the problems were, I have a cold, I've had a death, I've had something, I'm not the same. A lot of people don't realize either that through a childhood accident, Charles had a leg that was quite shorter than the other one, and in his lifetime, it grew in length.
Wow.
They were quite the pair, but underneath the layer, when we talk about prayer, and all of us could have a good old laugh about, in Science of Mind, you do 5 steps or 7 steps, or and you got to do it right, and and all that our teachers were wanting to articulate was a state of consciousness in which we exist to hold the space, because prayer doesn't change the divine, it brings forth the divine within us. And what I think is so powerful about Myrtle Fillmore was it's being a, in school they have the valedictorian, right? Well, we are the validating-torian. We validate an essence in a person. Like Emma said, I'm not here to see you as a sick person. I'm here to see you as whole. I'm here to see you not broken. I'm here to see you vibrant. I'm here to see you alive. And that was huge. And that's what Myrtle, when she looked in the mirror, she didn't look at, well, just like everybody else in your family, girl, you're dead. I mean, you're not going to make it. You're not going to live. She looked in this mirror and said, I am that which I am. I am healed. I am whole. I am able. I am capable. It's that validating. And we're all called to that, to validate. And I don't know about you, but often, it's unnerving to people, because they'll say, well, don't you remember? And I told you this. And I said, I don't remember any of it. And I'll just tell you that I don't remember the 3 times you went to the doctor. I don't remember if it was an immune builder or chemo. No, I don't remember, because I don't want to remember that about you. There's lots of people that are remembering that about you. I want to remember that what I know about you is every cell and fiber of your being right here, right now, in the Holy Spirit of your essence is a divine idea, totally healed. And that's what Myrtle taught people, through the power of prayer and the space she held.
Wow. It's amazing to hear, isn't it, Reverend Cathy, just to hear all of this and this information, which we wouldn't always think we could just get from a book. It's so great that you're here sharing it all with us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel it, I mean, as you're speaking, I actually really feel Myrtle speaking through you. I feel her teaching, which is, so what a blessing, and to me, that is the teaching too, is like, how can we transfer that teaching, to others and share it with others? And I think you're just doing such an amazing job, Reverend Temple.
Oh, well, that's very kind. And there are many established Unity scholars that would have, so much more history to share. But to me, it's about, what are our great takeaways? And like you said, that ripple effect that has gone on to touch millions, Maya Angelou, Betty White, Oprah Winfrey. And I say that because those are names that everybody knows, who they are. But just in everyday life, the people that, by the very nature of her life, has transformed. There's been many a person that their x-ray said one thing, or their PET scan, and through the work, through the teaching, through the learning of Myrtle's writings, right, and what she represented, they would then go back and nothing shows on that PET scan. Nothing shows. A tumor is benign. In my case, it was admitting that I had adapted the ways of my grandfather in being a really, really good, successful alcoholic. I mean, I was really good at it. I mean, like memory loss, like, found on the side of the road kind of alcoholic. And what it did for me in that instantaneous healing that I had 34 years ago, and that's not how I will identify myself. I was in Fort Lauderdale. I was in religious science ministerial training, and I got this download, this mystical vision in the night. Now, I had been to jail twice, and that was part of the problem. I would be a mess. I would drive my car into a tree, but then I would go win a trophy and be an All-American, or I'd make the newspaper. Do you know what I mean? And so, even though it was messy, I was living in an American system of what does your bio say? And that means you're successful. They weren't really looking at the psychology of my cries and my woos and my woes. But that being said, I had this instantaneous healing that I never wanted another drink again in my life. But what Myrtle did for me is making me realize that I didn't want my DNA to be beyond the doing and never asking. I wasn't just going to be a person that didn't drink, that battled and said, oh my gosh, it's just so hard and it's a struggle, but I re-identified myself. I resurrected. I wanted to know in advance, in that template, in that advanced look, that future vision of me. There was no misery, there was no longing, there was no wishing I could, there was no, I have to go to a meeting 5 times a day, though I'm not making you wrong if that's your place. But I went, no, I gave 15 years of this to my life. And I don't want to keep living in that anymore. And that was the gift of Myrtle's teachings to me, because she said, I'm a child of God, did not inherit disease. Let's move on. I want to focus on other things now. The other thing about her, because I love names, is her maiden name is Page. And so she went on to write one of the most of its time's famous magazines called Wisdom for Children. So she became a very successful writer. We Wisdom. It's a magazine series for children. And anyone can go to
We Wisdom. We Wisdom.
Right. WEE.
Wow.
We Wisdom. And she did that for years and years and years. And anyone can go to unity.org and research Unity archives. But yeah, an excellent writer. And the other thing that I find is not talked about enough with the Fillmores or with Ernest Holmes is they were shamanic. I mean, to me, they were shamanic, meaning they had this. Well, the path of a shaman are 2 words: infinity and wholeness.
Wow.
But their deep love is of nature, loving nature. And I know Ernest Holmes, I've heard stories about where he'd bring kids and get them to take a photograph of a tree and ask them, what would the tree say to you? And, Ernest loved animals. I remember the story. I get goosebumps to this day that Ernest Holmes lived in a 2-story home, and he would haul his German Shepherd up and down the stairs. It makes me cry because the dog was so aged. And people would say, Ernest, why don't you put that dog down? And Ernest looked at them and said, would you put your mother down? Is that what you would do? Would you put your mother down? So the mystics of New Thought really believed in the power of life and all sentient beings. They had that respect, in my opinion, and the research I've done, because those are the things that are interesting to me, is life rights and the rights of all things to live. And they were, they had the 1,400 acres of land. They had the what they call organic. Now, that's a fancy way of saying you grew it. You know what's in it. Um, but they had animals and all kind of animals. And on the grounds today, same grounds, you can go and see 20 deer and the turkeys, and there's just the presence of life. And they built their whole lifestyle around that. And the Fillmores were vegan. People didn't even know how to spell that then, but they were. And they attributed that lifestyle to their vibrancy, to their vitality, to their youth. People talk about it now like it's a brand new thing, but no, it hasn't been. It just was not so accepted or popular. Or you think about, come on, in the Midwest, the steak restaurant and all that, it's like didn't fit in, right? But they were definitely vegan and attributed so much to the fact that they didn't eat animal protein at all. So.
Wow. Incredible. I'm just wondering, Reverend Temple, as a woman, how, or identified as a woman, how Myrtle Fillmore, if she would have, like, she had the support of her husband, and together they created this incredible community. Do you think that for her as a woman, maybe feeling ridiculed, or feeling that, she'd healed herself, and that was an incredible thing, and then to be accepted, and then to have a queue of people queuing up, coming to her, seeking that healing from her. Do you think as a woman in those times, it would have been, was easier for her to do that with the support of her husband if he wasn't there? Do you think how do you think the unity movement could have expanded and grown without them being together in this?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I'm not just saying that because that's etiquette of what your answer is when somebody asks you a question. Her whole family supported her. Her children, one of her children is the one that's responsible for the architecture there at Unity Village. And if you haven't gone to Unity Village, I know a lot of years ago with Association of Global New Thought, a lot of the CSL leaders and Science of Mind individuals went to the village, and they were just spellbound because that alone, the way they built the structure, the way they built the buildings underneath for tornadoes and things like that, the fountains, the architecture of the Italian, of the Renaissance is like phenomenal. So her children, not only was Charles on board with her and supportive, but her children were as well. And there's no doubt about it that they walked hand in hand. And because she brought the healing component and the teaching component, and yet so did Charles. But together they had the Thought magazine. I believe it was called the New Thought magazine, very popular. And they did radio and things like that. So absolutely, it was two is more than one. All the way around. It was just in the very beginning that Charles is like, I need proof. I want to stand by something. But after that, he was fully on board. He accentuated her, she accentuated him, and they were, two peas in a pod, and are really, really supportive of each other, and bringing that solid energy of a family. I think that was very powerful in those days as well. Now we have all types of blended families, and they're beautiful too. But having that strength as a couple standing for what they believed. And the other area that, they said that like Myrtle would say is, or Charles would say is when they were, they went through the Depression together. I mean, they went through the bubonic plague. I mean, come on. There were a lot of things going on. Sound familiar? Um, Here we are again in our cycle. How appropriate that you're bringing in Myrtle and Emma and all the mystics, because we're here again. We'll cycle again, but now we're the leaders.
Yes.
We're the Fillmores and we're the Emma Curtis Hopkins right now as we speak, us three women. We're saying, hey, people, look, this is a cycle. We're going through another plague. We're going through another thing. You had Amy Semple McPherson. Now, that's a woman to have on your show to talk about her. I mean, she was the largest evangelistic minister of her time. And she traveled and put up caravan tents with her children and had thousands and thousands and thousands of people throwing away canes and getting out of wheelchairs. And she was another Myrtle that was there at one time, had the largest sanctuary in America. Amy Semple.
Who was Amy Semple McPherson?
Yeah, AIMEE. SEMPLE MCPHERSON. She was the founder of the Angelus, as in Angel Us Temple in Los Angeles. She was really the first celebrity of ministry. There was only one sanctuary larger than hers, and it was in London. And so, again, it's so phenomenal to hear about these people, and especially now. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit this story becoming the story I need to live, kind of thing, or whatever. And she never said tuberculosis isn't real. She never got caught in the politics of it or all that. Are you vaxxed or not vaxxed? She didn't spend her time that way. I mean, that's what saddens me about our society today is we're sitting around still feeding on some kind of divide. If everybody would just put their energy into, let's eliminate this. Let's all stand together and say, we are children of the universe, and therefore we are healed, we are whole, all is well. Let's put energy collectively into one direction instead of you're this way, you did that, you chose that, you're red, you're blue, you have a shot, you don't. I mean, it's too dispersed energy. And I think
Absolutely.
When we get back to why we still quote Lessons in Truth with Emily Cady, let's talk about Myrtle, let's talk about Charles or Ernest, and all the other greats in CSL and Unity, they were clear. They were clear teachers. They didn't say, wonder who's going to come and not come, and I'm ahead of them or behind them, or I'm more advanced than they were. They were just clear in their simplicity, of what they taught. And they would bring many people. And that is what Myrtle Fillmore said, is that, in life, I have made the greatest discovery. And she was alluding to the fact of how every aspect of her life was connected. And she affirmed all the organs and all the emotions and all the psychology and everything being one unit in its wholeness.
Wow. Thank you. And I think that beautifully flows into which you may have answered, but sometimes hearing it again as a question is, what did Myrtle really discover? So you beautifully described that, but what was that? What was that discovery of hers?
Well, in my own Temple Hayes humble opinion, I would say the individuation of spirit and the necessity to do so, to really be that self-actualized human being, and to allow the intuitive faculty, the GPS, the God personalized system within one essence of being, to honor that and listen to it accordingly and make choices. And because a lot of times, all three of us, those choices aren't necessarily the most popular. But until
yes,
person is utilizing their own highway, their own guidance, their struggle, their suffering, there's, that kind of thing. And I find, Emma Curtis Hopkins, I believe it was Ken Gordon actually that was telling me this, the former leader of CSL. He was saying that, Emma Curtis Hopkins said there's three reasons that keep people from moving forward. One is willfulness, having a strong will, probably a nice way of saying, or you're just a stubborn person, and the second one was, it's got to be hard. You believe in that it's got to be hard. And the third is needing recognition. We live in a time where, if I didn't have enough likes on YouTube, maybe I didn't have much to say, or people don't like me, or I'm not the largest on my Facebook following or whatever. And Myrtle just lived as an actualized spirit of the divine and had no agenda about being popular or anything, just going and guiding the steps as a visionary of what was before her and what she was supposed to do.
No, thank you. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's quite challenging, I would say, to be that. She was stubborn in her own way, so she was moving forwards, being stubborn in what she'd realized and what she knew. She couldn't turn back. And I think that's such a powerful message for us today. I don't know how I know, I'm sure I'm feeling this right now, that we need to hear this more, to look at these people that have realized and who've had these experiences and not turned back, because it couldn't have been easy for her. There must have been challenges along the way through that, that led her to question it again and again, and to stand firm in her own truth and her belief of what she knew to be true. And I'm so pleased that you've brought this forward, because it's like, it can be so easy to stay under the duvet and ignore that, and we need that as humanity. We need that right now, to remember that, to stand in our truth, in the truth that we know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in some ways it would have been, only to our imagination, because we weren't there, or if we were, we don't recall it in our current incarnation. But, it could have been difficult because, again, of the lack of at social meetups and, all the things that we do now. It could have been difficult. But on the other hand, in some ways, it would have been easier because, one of the hardships that we face today are, we can be notified if we choose to. We're notified 24/7 of some kind of problem at any given moment, at any given second. And we're just broken with breaking news. I wrote a writing not too many years ago about, don't let breaking news break you, because it's designed to follow a money trail. It's what sells advertising. And you can only do so many. Well, so-and-so was healed today, and so-and-so's happy today, and so-and-so's been married for 50 years. You don't see much of that. It's like, survival. Oh, now a tsunami. Oh, if you get through the tsunami, you're going to have a snowstorm. If you survive the snowstorm, the cow's going to fall on you. And if you survive everything, you can come to Florida and a shark is going to eat you. And we haven't had any shark attacks. We've had like 800 since 1900, but they don't tell you that. It's all fear-based. It's all, let's program you. And you add all that to the recent pandemic. See, they didn't hear all these stories of fear all the time, because from one city to the other, it was only the one they traveled to where there was knowledge. And so I can see where it had its ups and its challenges. And that's our thing today. You know, Ralph Waldo Emerson in the late 1800s said, be cautious of the news. And that was long before it was everywhere you are, you know, and how you train
Yes.
your mind, right?
Yes, absolutely. And what we're succumb to, it takes a lot of strength, doesn't it, to stay in that knowing and stay in the light.
Yep. Yeah. And that, you know, was it
Yeah.
Einstein? Was it Einstein that said, I'm talking to two scholars today. Was it Einstein that said you cannot hold two conflicting ideas at the same time? Wasn't it?
I think it
Wasn't it
was.
Einstein that said that? And, you know, and that's what Myrtle, that's what she was saying. You can't be whole and broken at the same time. You can't be making life's discovery and dying at the same time. You're going to be alive. If you're discovering life, you're alive. You're vibrant. You age, but you don't get old. You know, neither one of them got old. They aged. And so there's so much more to as examples, not as what they taught. We have a lot of people teaching stuff, but they're not examples. They just talk. You know what I mean? Like walk the talk. But they were walking their talk.
Wow.
Which was so powerful, and that's how unity really took off, you know,
So
because
powerful.
they were personal examples of it, you know, like you said, walking their talk and showing it to the world, and then attracting those to them too. And then, again, I mean, the show Wisdom of the Mystics, that what is, you know, being a mystic. You know, we're all mystics on some level.
Totally.
And they were able to teach people to access their own mystical experience with the divine, which helped it to kind of grow and expand too in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, we certainly all have become mystics now.
Yeah.
Because even my dog is saying, I'm a mystic too. Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes, it's just a joy to be listening and soaking all of this up as you bring in Myrtle Fillmore, who was the co-founder of Unity with her husband, Charles Fillmore, and to hear her story and to hear of her, well, they're not struggles, they're life. It's her life and what she went through to bring this teaching that she knew, her revelation, to bring her revelation. So I have a question, just out of interest. Was she a religious person? Would you have said she was, before this happened, that she had faith or she had belief, or that she was religious, practicing a religion?
I don't know that they had that word then, but I would say that she was spiritual. I mean, religious
Spiritual,
is,
yeah.
A religious person is a person that the fish, you know, like the graphics, the fish is swimming in the aquarium.
Yes.
The spiritual person is the person swimming outside the aquarium. So I would call her spiritual. And in that, you know, it was still the language of that day. Everything was he. Everything was man.
Yes.
And all of that. We've upgraded the language in today's times, but back then everything was patriarchal and, you know, things like that. I so apologize for my dog. He's a Leo.
It's lovely.
So I guess he wanted his opinion to matter. But Myrtle Fillmore had great faith. And there was a group of people in the early days that were complaining that they were out of funds. And somebody said, well, I hope our pennies don't work out, run out, or I hope our money doesn't work out. And she goes, that's irrelevant. You better hope your faith doesn't run out. It's about your faith running out.
Oh, wow.
Right. So a profound woman that would stand there and invoke, you know, the presence and power of faith.
Wow. That's so powerful. That's a teaching in itself. That's a whole other show.
And I think it can lead into a question of how is this teaching practical and applicable for people today? How can people who are listening to this and learning about Myrtle, how can they take Myrtle's teaching and use it in their day-to-day life right now with what's going on in the world?
Well, there couldn't be a better time than now to practice a lot. Right? Just, waking up every morning and saying, I now declare I'm an original idea. I use my own mind, and I am not swayed by the emotions or the uncertainty of this world. I am whole. I am holy. I am well. I am in all is well in my soul. And that's been a real shift for me in the evolution of even my own life, from the need to deal with, as Ernest Holmes would say, the spiritual psychology, but at the same time value the truth of seeing you as, and seeing myself as I am whole. That's where I start, as whole.
Yes.
Not as wounded, not as, yes, the shadows are there. Yes, the challenges we've overcome are there, but the greater essence of the template of the divine is I am holy. And when we live in that, then we also change our language. We stop saying those crazy people. We start talking about a world that is so messed up. It really brings me to tears when I hear leaders and pastors and teachers calling our world crazy, when they're teaching, on Tuesday night, the power of affirmation. I'm like, come on, we must really align with invoking the wholeness, because the news is not the world. The what sells, advertising, that has very little to do with the world. Anywhere you travel, anywhere in the world, it's beautiful, it's magical, it's majestic, it's all that. And it's not the world that we see on a immediate urgent notification. One more person hurt another person. And does it mean that those things don't exist? No. Does it mean that they don't exist? But a small percent compared to the wholeness and well-being of universal law. And I really would love people to just stop saying that while they're teaching affirmations on Tuesday night. Just stop it. Just get a big old can of shut up and stop calling our world messed up or crazy. We don't need that. We must come from a much higher vibration than the norm of what we see. I mean, my teacher, Dr. Bill Tolliver, oh my God, he was a character. And, he would say, you can't be average. Average is the worst of the best and the best of the worst. Who wants to be average? That's what I applaud. That's what I'm grateful for with Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore, from the depth of my being, thank you for not being average, because your teachings have transformed millions and millions and millions of lives. Thank you for not being average, because you taught me I don't have to be either. And you taught Kathy, and you taught our beloved Laura, we don't have to be average. How boring. Let's choose a different path. Yeah.
This is so powerful. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing. Reverend Kathy, I'm sure you feel we could talk all night for me, all day for you, because I'm here in the UK. But it's amazing to hear this and to hear. And for me, I'm just feeling so empowered within myself that there was this woman who would not turn back. She had a heat and wouldn't turn back, and she knew it, and she forged this path forwards, continuing to teach this teaching that she had personal experience of. So absolutely. Beautiful, so powerful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I really thank you for having me. I was honored that you asked me. And it's been a pleasure to sit with both of you today and be in your presence.
No, thank you very much. And I love, it's so inspiring how this Myrtle's teaching has touched and transformed your life.
Oh, yeah.
And how you're going out in the world and showing up and sharing your teaching, which, again, is that ripple effect out into the world. Is there any particular, do you have any programs or anything that you're doing right now that you would like to share?
Well, I have lots of things that I teach, and I am the founder of the Institute for Leadership and Lifelong Learning. And you can access any of that through templehayes.com. But I bring in a lot of the shamanic teachings into a lot of things that I teach. And I work with spiritual leaders and working with sacred archetypes and those kind of things. So, yeah, you can find me easy on Google.
Oh, yes. And your website's here, templehayes.com, and we put it in the blurb underneath this show. So that's there forever. People can find you through that. And you're on Facebook as well, I know. And an incredible teacher and leader and doing incredible things with AGNT as well, which I love the AGNT website, by the way. I love it.
I do too.
It's great.
It really
Association
is.
of Global New Thought. Because we're in this time of peace right now, recognizing peace for ourselves and for our planet. Beautiful.
Yeah, we're in the throes of the season for nonviolence, the 64 days.
That's it.
And so they can go to agnt.today. You also have things at the New Thought Network.
Yes.
Co-founder Robert Brzezinski was. We hosted a program of opening it, and it's the time between Gandhi and Martin Luther King's assassination, and the focus on that. So yeah, it's exciting. There's so much available, and it's allowing ourselves to integrate it and use it. And definitely, yeah, we're doing what we can with what we know.
So as a final question, just a kind of quick question here, because we have a few minutes left. What do you think Myrtle Fillmore would be saying right now in our times as an inspirational message? What do you think her message would be right now for us?
Well, I don't know if I'm downloading her or if I'm downloading me. What I got really thrown, and I went, what?
Both.
She says, grow up. Grow up.
Grow up.
Grow your vibration
Grow up.
Right?
I love that.
Grow up.
Oh my God, that's wonderful.
We did it when it wasn't acceptable to be bold and brave and take a stand. Grow up,
Oh, I love this.
Stand in front of people and speak the New Thought message, or on your podcast, or on your video, or with your family, or with your best person. Grow up. Grow into a higher vibratory field that exceeds the average level in which you can be bombarded and blend right in, but stand up to a higher thing. So way to go, Myrtle.
Thank you, Myrtle.
I know you expected something very eloquent, profound to come out of her mouth, like a beautiful quote, but she said, tell those people just to grow up. So there we go.
I think that was beautiful and profound. And very powerful too. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. What a joy. This has been such a treat.
Thank you for having me.
Just feel so blessed. Thank you.
For the pleasure of being with you.
I'm very grateful.
And and thank you to everybody that's been viewing here and sending in wonderful comments. And if you're watching this later on, then I know you're going to be fed in some way from this, because it's just it's wonderful. It's like being in a private personal workshop here. with Reverend Temple and Myrtle Fillmore and Reverend Kathy. So thank you for joining us. And I'm just going to say before Reverend Kathy comes in to say goodbye that you're here on New Thought Media Network, this incredible broadcasting focused ministry. Yes, as Reverend Temple was saying, visioned by Reverend, maybe Doctor, who knows? I've just Reverend Robert Brzezinski, and we're here every day, shining out the light, bringing broadcasts and shows and teachings and opportunities for each of us to get closer to knowing the truth of who we are. So I'm going to put the banner down here for the because we like this up here just to know that that God is our source, and that you can support this network in all sorts of ways. And one of the ways is financially with a love offering or tithe or donation, whatever you want to call it. There is the link there that you can be, you can go to the website, and you can know in consciousness that as you're doing this, you are a part of the reciprocal process, the flow of life, the give and the receive, and knowing that that yes, God is our supply, and that's why we do this. So there's the link for that. And thank you for being here. Thank you for Reverend Temple for giving your time and your wisdom and preparing in the midst of everything that you're doing in your life. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure being with you, and thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to being on the journey with you again, really.
Yeah, great.
Oh, thank you so much. I've learned so much. And again, I feel so much closer to Myrtle Fillmore and Charles. And again, just learning about the roots of this incredible teaching of unity, and, New Thought teaching, with Ernest Holmes, and the powerful women, who have been such an integral part bringing it out to the world. And as we're going with the wisdom of the mystics, our next show on the fourth Tuesday, we're going to learn about Phineas Parkhurst Quimby with Dr. Petra Weldis. And so that's kind of fun too. Again, we're just learning about our roots and what is this mystical tradition that is carried forward with New Thought, and how can we use it in our lives? And so you brought so much of that to us today, Dr. Temple. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're grateful for everyone who joins us, and Wisdom of the Mystics, everyone who supports, and we're just going to keep moving forward and learn more together. Together, we're on this journey called life, and how we can love and support each other. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the next show of Wisdom of the Mystics. And remember to check out Reverend Temple Hayes and her wonderful work. It's all on her website, templehayes.com. Until next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now.